Welcome everyone to our USRA application process workshop. My name is Leah Hausman and I take care of the Tri-Agency USRA/USASC, and we are going to be going over the entire application process together today. We will have some time for questions at the end, so you can either pop them in the chat and we'll get to them as we can, or raise your hand and unmute when we call for questions closer to the end. First things first, even though we are online, I want to acknowledge that we are coming to you today from a Treaty 6 territory and the homeland of the Métis, and I invite you to take a moment to consider the Indigenous homelands that you are coming to us from today. We're quickly going to go over the USRA program just in case any of you missed our introduction sessions or haven't had a chance to take a look through our website yet. This is a super high level overview, so you are definitely going to want to go through our website in detail because all of the details there, and you want to make sure that you're not going to miss anything. So on the whole, the Undergraduate Student Research Awards, or USRAs as we call them, provide paid full-time work over the summer as a student assistant on a research project under the supervision of a USASC faculty member. They are 14 to 16 weeks of paid employment between May and August 2026. Students are paid between $15.35 per hour and $21.12 per hour, depending on your faculty supervisor. These are the 2025 ranges, and they are expected to change slightly in January. And then $6,000 is paid by the USRA award, and the remainder to pay the student the wage for the amount of time that y'all have decided comes from the faculty supervisor. The faculty supervisor must be eligible to apply for and hold the same tri-agency funding that the student is applying for. So if the student is applying for an NSERC USRA, the faculty member must be eligible to apply for NSERC funding. They don't have to currently hold NSERC funding, but they have to be eligible to apply. They must also have a top-up fund source. As I mentioned, this does not have to be a tri-agency fund. It just has to be any funding source that you have access to that allows for student employment expenses to be charged against it. A faculty supervisor can submit up to 3 applications as a supervisor in a given year. They will need to provide an NSE eligibility justification if that is applicable. And they need to know that they will be available to provide quality supervision and mentorship to the USRA student if they are awarded. For the student, they must be a Canadian citizen, permanent resident, or have protected status. They must be enrolled in an undergraduate program at the time of application. It is okay if you will graduate in the spring, as long as you are currently enrolled right now. For NSERC and SSHRC, the student cannot be enrolled in a professional undergraduate program like a MD, a DDS, or a Bachelor of Science in Nursing. However, they can be enrolled in one of those if they're applying for a CIHR USRA. If you have any questions at all about that, please contact us and we can help. And then the student must also have completed 2 semesters of university before May of 2026. So first-year students are eligible to apply as long as they will have completed those 2 semesters of university. And the student must also have a cumulative average of 70%. And of the 3 tri-agencies, most of the awards come from the Natural Sciences and Engineering Research Council, or NSERC. And there are 3 different streams for the NSERC awards. The general NSERC stream, where we have 67 awards available. The stream for Indigenous student researchers, where additional awards beyond the general NSERC allocation are available. This stream is only open to applicants who can obtain verification of Indigenous identity or citizenship in line with the Indigenous Truth Policy at USASC. If you have questions about that, you can see the eligibility criteria on our website or contact us if you have questions. And the stream for Black student researchers, where we have 7 awards available. For this stream, the student must self-identify as a Black student and consent to having this information about their identity shared, potentially publicly, if they are awarded. And then at this time, the Social Sciences and Humanities, SSHRC, and the Canadian Institutes of Health Research, or CIHR, USRAs, are only for Black student researchers, and the same guidelines as the NSERC stream for Black student researchers apply here. And there are 3 awards for each of these streams, so 3 for SSHRC and 3 for CIHR. Also, here is a really quick reminder of the evaluation criteria. So 60% of the total score comes from the student portions of the application, academic performance and research potential, and then 40% comes from the faculty portion. So students and faculty supervisors must apply together and complete the application together. Student academic performance counts for 30% of your score, like I mentioned. So that includes things like the student's grades by year, their transcripts, from all post-secondary institutions they have attended, and then any awards that are listed on the application. And as you will see in a bit, there is space to list these on the application. Student research potential counts for the other 30% of the student portion, and it includes the answers to your questions on the application, which we will get to in a moment. And then the last 40% comes from the faculty portion of the application, which is a significant amount of the total score. So it's important that the student and the faculty supervisor work together to complete this application. The faculty supervisor is the one that provides the outline of the topic, the outline of the student's role, and the outline of the quality and training that they are going to provide to the student. There are a few extra things to check for here. So your application is not read by someone in your department. It will be read by someone with experience in the natural sciences and engineering. For example, if you're applying for an NSERC USRA, but it won't be your department. So it's important that the faculty supervisor writes this in a way that it could be understood outside their department. And the adjudication committee also wants to make sure that awarded students are working with quality supervision and mentorship. So it's important that the faculty supervisor outlines this well in their part of the application. Some of the big updates you will see to the process this year are that we have a new application portal. If any of you were around last year, you will remember that we used Canvas to collect your applications. That is no more. We have a new portal. Please note that this is not the NSERC portal. Only students who are awarded will submit to the NSERC portal in March. So if you do submit your application to the NSERC portal, I can't guarantee that I will catch it in time and let you know that you need to actually submit it to our portal. So please keep an eye on that. So there's one portal for USASC students, regardless of the stream you're applying for. And this is where you will enter all of your administration information and upload your forms. And then for non-USASC students, there is a separate portal. So non-USASC students will complete that, and then they will email their documents to us. For faculty, we have a new hiring information document that is required at the time of application. If you were around last year, this is the same information that was requested in your faculty application form, but it's now in a more standardized format, and it also keeps it a bit more private during the adjudication process. And then we have a new and updated evaluation criteria rubric. We have made a few changes to make it easier to interpret and to help you understand how to craft a competitive application. And we will go through all of that right away. So this is our new and updated rubric to help you in writing your applications. And this is what the adjudication committee is looking for. You can see how the committee identifies competitive applications, and you can see some of those pitfalls to avoid. The categories that come from the student application are in yellow, and the parts that come from the faculty application are in gray. And this has a lot of info on it, and it has to be tiny to fit it on the slide. But if you scan that QR code, you can see the online version, which will allow you to zoom in. Like I mentioned, this is what the adjudication committee is looking for. And it will be a really good idea to keep this handy and reference it when you are writing your applications. As you will see once you take a look at it, since there are multiple documents, the faculty application and the student application, these are not necessarily considered independently. They relate to one another. So like a faculty member proposes a project and both the faculty member and the student form neglect to explain how the student has those skills, why they are the person for that project, it will be hard for the committee to make those connections. So you want to aim to tell a cohesive story throughout your application package. There are also many other little tips hidden in plain sight in this rubric, except they are not hidden. We actually give them to you. And one of my biggest recommendations is to take a really good look through this rubric, as it will help you to draft a competitive application package. We're going to take a closer look at how each question from the forms maps onto this rubric in just a moment. But first, we're going to go over the application steps. So number one, you want to review all of the eligibility criteria. So not just the criteria I've mentioned today, but go through our website. Make sure you are eligible to apply. You're going to find a faculty supervisor. Students, if you have not done so yet, it would be a really good idea to get on that right away, especially as we near finals time and the holiday break. It can be a bit harder to get a hold of faculty to talk to them about this. So this is your nudge to get on it if you haven't done so already. The application also takes some time to put together for your faculty supervisor. So the more time you can give them, the better. Number 3, 4, and 5, you want to get ready to submit your application. So you're going to download the forms, you're going to reference the rubric, and then you will submit your complete application package to the application portal by January 23rd at 5:00 p.m. Saskatchewan time. Your complete application package includes a few parts that you will need to submit. So you will need a completed student application form. If you run out of room on the scholarships and awards section of the form, there is an extra page available. It is linked in the form, but let us know if you have any problems finding it. And you can include as many as you need, but they also all must be submitted as one PDF document. You'll also need a completed faculty mentor application form and a completed information for student hiring form. Both of these are completed by the faculty supervisor, and then the student also needs a copy of their transcripts from any post-secondary institutions attended. For USASC students who have only attended USASC, we will provide your transcripts, so those students do not need to submit a transcript. If you are a current USASC student but have attended another post-secondary institution at some point, maybe transferred, or maybe you're working on a second undergraduate degree, you will need to provide transcripts from those institutions. If you have questions about this, please let us know. So now that you have seen the rubric and understand the forms that you will need to fill out, we're going to take a closer look at them all. You will be able to download copies of these from our website. They're all there. So we're going to first take a look at the student form and compare it to the rubric. So in addition to a little administrative information on that form, like your name, title of your project, name of your faculty supervisor, the really big parts are the questions that you will need to answer. So by looking at the rubric and the questions on the form side by side, we can see how those map onto that evaluation criteria. So to write a competitive application, you will want to keep those explanations in mind when writing. So your student research potential is judged based on your answers to questions 1, 2, and 3. And then your academic performance is judged based on the awards you list, your transcripts, and then the optional answer to question number 4 on the form, which is not pictured here. That is a space to allow you to let us know if you've experienced any extenuating circumstances, and the adjudication committee will take that into consideration during the adjudication process. For the faculty form, we can see how the answers to these questions also map onto the rubric. There are also some questions that factor into multiple criteria for the faculty form. So for example, the outline of the student research project factors into the outline and quality of student research experience and the research experience feasibility categories on that rubric. So again, you want to take a good look at it and use this to help you plan and map out how you will write your application. The faculty supervisor is also responsible for providing the information for student hiring form. Again, if you applied last year, this is the same information, but just in a new format. And just to note with this form, when you go to download it on the website, it automatically downloads. So it can be easy to miss if you aren't looking. But not to worry, it will be in your downloads folder or your reasons folder or wherever you set your downloads to go to if you happen to have changed your computers or your browser's default settings. Within that form, we also have a link to a top-up calculator that can be used to estimate the funds required, depending on the wage and length of the project for the top-up funds. This calculator is also on our website if you lose it or need to reference it. And then once the faculty supervisor has filled this out, they will need to give a completed copy to the student so the student can upload it to the portal. This form is not considered during the adjudication process, but it is required at time of application so that we can streamline everything for the awarded students. And then if you have any questions about any of these forms, please reach out to us or come to the drop-in support sessions that we'll be holding, and we'll be happy to help. So next, we're going to take a look at the application portal. If you scan that QR code, you will be taken to a walkthrough guide on the application portal. This guide is also on our website if you want to reference it later. And the link to get you to the portal to submit your applications is also on the website. The first thing you will need to do is sign in with your USASC account and complete your multi-factor authentication. This might look a little differently for you depending on how you have everything set up, but it will ask you to sign in. And then again, if you scan this QR code, you'll be taken to that walkthrough resource and you can follow along, but I'm going to share my screen with it right now. So don't worry if you can't do that right now or if you don't have multiple screens available. So once you log in, you're going to see this page and it has all the instructions of what you need to submit, how to submit your application. Please note that you do need to be prepared to submit the whole thing at the same time because you will not be able to save your progress and return later. And then you will be asked to enter some administrative information like your name, your preferred name, your student number, your address, all that good stuff. Your NSID. Your current college and department, your complete mailing address. You'll be asked to tell us if you've ever worked on campus before or if you've ever been paid by USASC before. If so, and you know your employee ID number, you can provide it here. If you have been paid by USASC before, let us know. And then if you know your employee ID number, let us know. Just helps us to streamline the hiring process if you're awarded. But if you don't know, that is okay. You're going to tell us your citizenship. You're going to tell us which award stream you're applying for. So for that general stream, there is the general eligibility criteria. For the Indigenous Student Researcher stream, we're going to ask you if you've began the Indigenous Truth Policy Verification process at USASC. This just helps us when we're connecting with the Office of the Vice Provost Indigenous Engagement. If we can let them know the students who have already started the process are the ones that we need to reach out to help start the process. If it is the NSERC, SHRC, or CIHR USRA for Black student researchers, then you'll need to tell us if you consent to having that information about your identity shared publicly. And then you're going to be entering some information about your faculty supervisor. So their name, their NSID, their email address, department. All that information will be within the forms that the supervisor gives to the student. So they shouldn't have trouble finding it. But if you have questions about the answers to those questions, just chat with your faculty supervisor. And then you're going to upload your documents. So we are first going to ask you if you have attended another post-secondary institution. If you click yes, you're going to be prompted to upload a copy of your official transcripts. They do need to be as one PDF. So if you have attended multiple previous post-secondary institutions, then combine all those into one document. You're going to be asked to upload your student application form, your faculty mentor application form, and the faculty information for student hiring form. And then once you click next, your application portal is going to be, and your application package, is going to be ready to submit. Please make sure that you check everything over. Make sure you've spelled everything correctly, that you've included everything, that you're not missing anything, because you won't be able to change any information after you click submit. And then once you click submit, you will receive a message letting you know that we have received your application. We recommend that you click this send me an email receipt of my responses button, just so that you will have a record of everything just in case. It's always good to have that. And then, yes, like I mentioned, you will receive that message that you have submitted. The non-USASC portal is also very similar to this, except that the application forms and transcripts are not uploaded to the portal. Instead, they're emailed to us. We do have a separate guide for the non-USASC portal on our website that you can view if you are a non-USASC student. All right, and then as I mentioned, we will be holding drop-in support sessions on December 17th and January 14th. The application deadline is January 23rd, 2026, and results will be released in March of 2026. Now we are not leaving you all alone to complete your applications. If you scan that QR code, you will be taken to our website where we will have recordings of the introduction sessions, this session, copy of the slides, recordings of our how to talk to a professor about a research position, and writing about your skills on CVs and applications sessions. There will be the portal walkthrough guide, the rubric, as well as all of the eligibility criteria, the application forms, portal links. You can find all of it there. And if you can't find something that you need, please do let us know. We'd be happy to help. We are also hosting 2 live drop-in support sessions, one on December 17th, both in person and online, and another one on January 14th in the new year, kind of just before the deadline. If you need help with your application or have any questions, you can drop in for hands-on support from us. You'll bring your questions, you can work on your application and enjoy some snacks while you're at it. And whether you're just getting started or putting on the final polish, we will be at these sessions to help you with any questions you have. That QR code also takes you to our website where you can find the registration links for all of those. So that is all the stuff that I need to go over with you. So I'm going to open the floor for any questions at this point. I see we've got a few in the chat here. So first of all, for the non-UFS students, how do you get an NSID? So for the non-US students, UFS students, your application portal is a little different. If you have worked on at USASC before, you will have an NSID. If you don't know it, that's okay. That part is optional on the non-USASC student portal. And you can go ahead and unmute the person who's got their hand raised there.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. I have you said something about the hiring information document and you said there is a privacy, there will be more privacy or something, and I didn't understand what the concern was and how is it different this year, because I applied last year, but I don't remember giving it to the student.
So last year, if you remember, on your faculty application form, you had to provide all that hiring information on the last page of that form. So that included like the wage you're going to pay the students, your CFOPL information, like onboarding contact information, all of that stuff. And so like that was part of your package that then got handed off to the adjudication committee, and they don't really need to see that information. So now it is just that part of it is just taken out onto the new form. It's the same information you were going to provide. It's just now more easily to separate it out so we don't have to hand it off to people that don't need to see it.
Okay, thank you.
No problem. I have a few more questions in the chat. Will a USRA in previous years affect the chance of success in this year? So if you have held a USRA before, you do want to keep in mind that you can only hold a maximum of 3 USRAs across your undergraduate research career. And then if you have held a USRA before, the adjudication committee is going to be looking for you to mention something about it. So if there are skills you learned in that previous USRA that are going to apply to the new USRA, it's a really great option to mention that and talk about it. It's not going to, put you at a disadvantage by any means. But if they can see that you've, held 2 USRAs before and you don't mention anything about them on your application, then they might have some questions about that. The other question is about the student application form, and it does not include the information on the project. So that is correct. The student application form, sorry, I'll go back to the slide here. So you were asked to answer these questions here. So you want to talk about your experiences or skills that you would have to support your summer research project, how that summer research project will help you practice and develop those skills, and then how that opportunity will contribute to your future education or career goals. The faculty portion, they provide the outline of the research project, the outline of the student's role, and the outline of the quality of mentorship and training. And then another question about students from other universities applying. So yes, other students from non-USASC institutions can apply. They have to apply with a USASC faculty member though. If you are working with a USASC faculty member and you want to apply, but you go to another institution, that is totally okay. If you are applying to another institution as a USASC student, then you will need to apply with a faculty member from that institution, and you'll need to apply to that institution. So if you're going to apply for a USRA at UBC, for example, you have to follow UBC's application process. If you have any questions about that, let us know. Now the question about, will the USRA provide research funds to the lab, or will the funding be solely for the student's stipend? So the USRA only provides funding to pay the student. So all of the funding must go to the student. It cannot be used for any lab expenses. So $6,000 is paid by the USRA, and then the faculty supervisor must provide top-up funds to pay that student the wage they decide, the length of time they decide. This ranges somewhere between $3,800 and like $8,900, depending on the wage being $15.35 or $21.12, and the project length being 14 to 16 weeks. Do you recommend having an intro, body, and conclusion in the student responses as a structure? So you will see that you don't have a whole lot of space. You only have 2,500 characters, including spaces, so that is not a lot. So whatever format works best for you when you're writing it, if it makes more sense to do intro, body, and conclusion for you, Sounds great. If it makes more sense to put some bullet points in there, that also is totally fair. There aren't any very specific guidelines on the exact format, just that it must be under 2,500 characters. If you are struggling with how to write this, it is a really good idea to work with your faculty supervisor, because they can also work with you on your portion of the application, and provide feedback before you actually submit it. All right, another question in terms of weekly hours, wasn't it 35 or 37 and a half last year? So it was 37 and a half last year, and it is 37 and a half this year. The reason that is because NSERC says they have to be full-time, and the full-time is defined on whatever the full-time equivalent at that institution is. So at USASC, full-time equivalent is 37 and a half hours per week. And the calculator we have provides all of the calculations on that, and it assumes the 37 and a half hours per week. I think I've answered the questions in the chat, but if you have any questions I haven't answered yet, please let me know or raise your hand, and you're free to ask it out loud. Thank you all for coming and asking your questions. As we mentioned, you'll find all the details and information on our website. We will also be sending a copy of this recording and the slides to you all. So good luck with your applications. We hope to see you at the drop-in sessions, and have a great rest of your day.